Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Chessboard, Business Standards podcast on the world of Indian politics. Today is Tuesday, 23rd of April, and I'm your host Ankur. Electorate in 117 Lok Sabha seats is voting today to elect their representatives. This includes states like Gujarat, Kerala, and also parts of Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, Assam, and many others. Today is also the last day to file nominations for Phase 6 of polls, which takes place on 12th May 2019. That phase would include states like Delhi and Haryana. Business Standards political editor Archis Mohan is with us today to talk about elections 2019. Archis has just returned from a tour of Uttar Pradesh. Hi Archis, welcome to the Chessboard.
Thank you, Ankur.
So which parts of Uttar Pradesh did you visit?
I travelled across much of what is called the Awadh region and also the eastern parts of Uttar Pradesh. I spent time in Allahabad, Phulpur, Banaras, Mirzapur for nearly a week, and I think my experience, at least from this visit, seems to suggest that UP will be bad news for the two big parties, the two biggest national parties. UP, it would seem, is going towards its own regional parties, the Samajwadi Party and the Bahujan Samaj Party respectively. My takeaway from UP was, the kind of Hindu consolidation and the belief in Mr. Modi's promise of development, which brought BJP major gains in Uttar Pradesh in both 2014 Lok Sabha elections and 2019 assembly polls, has run its course. And it's interesting, how both Yadav as well as Jatav youths and other people have started asking pointed questions on not just issues like farm distress, jobs, but also Pulwama and Balakot. For example, I met lots of Yadav and Jatav youths, people who are studying in colleges or who have just started their businesses, who asked me very pointedly, why are there so many contradictions in what the BJP leadership has said about the number of people who were killed in Balakot airstrike, and why was there a security failure in Pulwama. Now this goes against the grain. The conventional wisdom has been that the youth has supported Modi and across caste and religious lines, but my experience has been totally different. Even earlier, when I'd been to Western UP earlier this month, there were Jat youth who would ask these questions. So you would see that even the BJP narrative, the issues like Balakot and Pulwama have receded in the background or starting to.
So are you saying that caste arithmetic is trumping nationalism?
I would think so. The 2017 assembly polls was an experiment in a kind of caste configuration which BJP chief Amit Shah accomplished and succeeded in. He reached out to a whole lot of non-Yadav OBC castes and non-Jatav Dalit castes, subcastes, which eventually supported the BJP. And there was promise and there was hope that the kind of stake they want in the system, in the power structure, which the Samajwadi Party, because it's become dominated by Yadavs, and the Bahujan Samaj Party, because it's dominated by the Jatavs, hasn't delivered to them, the BJP would. However, large sections of these groups are now dissatisfied with the Yogi Adityanath government. The Yogi Adityanath government has failed to deliver on this promise of being able to give people, castes other than the Thakurs, a stake in governance. So there are castes who are now gravitating again towards the SP and the BSP. And what the SP and BSP have done is to distribute tickets to candidates from these castes in several of the constituencies. However, Kurmis largely still remain with the BJP, barring in some seats where the Samajwadi Party or the Bahujan Samaj Party have fielded Kurmi people. So I would think that nationalism, issues of nationalism, have been trumped by caste arithmetic.
Archis, you also visited Banaras, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's own constituency, and is again contesting from there. Now, there has been some talk about Priyanka Gandhi contesting from Banaras as a Congress candidate. Do you think this will make a difference?
Again, in Benares, the Prime Minister had promised to make it into a Kyoto or a Venice. The problem is that the kind of development model that has been pursued in the last few years in Benares of widening roads, building flyovers. Now, much of that is still incomplete, is still under construction. But that has also done away with some of what Benares believes in is its iconic quality of labyrinthine gullies and temples and the Vishwanath corridor, for example, has demolished some of these structures, relocated some of the people from where they were living without suitable rehabilitation. So these issues are troubling the common Banarasi. In that context, if Priyanka Gandhi Vadra were to contest, it would enthuse the Congress voters. It would also help the Congress in its plans to become a credible opposition, a big player in at least Eastern UP by 2022. And it would seem that there is enough support on the ground. But for that to happen, Priyanka Gandhi will need to be the common candidate of the opposition. Unfortunately, the Samajwadi Party has fielded a candidate, announced a candidate in Varanasi. And, if Priyanka Gandhi is to give a good fight to Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the Samajwadi Party and the Bahujan Samaj Party and other parties, smaller groups, will need to support her candidature. Earlier this month, some of the smaller parties, for example, even the Communist Party of India, Marxist, the Nationalist Congress Party, the CPI, and several other smaller groups held a meeting in Benares and appealed to all the opposition parties to field a common candidate. So the CPIM is not part of a Congress alliance, but at least in Varanasi, the local unit, and even in Uttar Pradesh, the local CPIM unit and other smaller parties are willing to say that they'll support the common candidature of Priyanka Gandhi Vadra or any opposition candidate.
The Congress party has also faced criticism in places like Delhi from certain parts of the intelligentsia for having split the opposition vote, for having divided it. Do you think the Congress party is doing that in Uttar Pradesh, and what is the sense from the ground?
In Uttar Pradesh, unfortunately for the Congress party, it lacks a definite support base, a core support across UP. It is also identified primarily with upper castes, particularly Brahmins. There is Congress support among Muslims, but that's restricted to seats where Muslims are in significant numbers. The UP election is primarily about the Jatavs, the Yadavs coming together to demand a stake in the power structure, which they had come to take for granted at least since 1990, when Mulayam Singh Yadav first won and formed the government, and subsequently Mayawati also formed governments. So in that context, the Congress probably needed to, at least give shape to a different kind of a leadership, which it doesn't have. It doesn't have a leadership among OBCs. It doesn't have a leadership among Dalits. That's probably a long-term plan. But for the present, what the Congress is doing is very interesting. It is putting up a good fight in seats where it believes it can win. So it has selected something like a dozen odd seats, and it's putting its resources in those seats. And in other seats, it would seem that the Congress, and I don't know if it's a covert understanding or not between the Congress, the SP and the BSP, but the Congress has fielded the kind of candidates that would probably help the SP and the BSP candidates, particularly the SP candidates, to win, and the Congress candidate would probably eat into the kind of support base that the BJP enjoys in UP.
In 2014, the BJP was propelled to power in Delhi by its sweeping of Uttar Pradesh. How is the BJP trying to counter whatever drawbacks it is facing this time?
I would think, from my experiences from the ground, the BJP probably panicked. Probably its feedback was that some of the schemes that it has launched haven't done well, and it also panicked because the SP and the BSP came together. Now, if you would see even the 2014 Lok Sabha results, there'll be several seats, at least half of the 73 odd seats that the BJP and its ally Apna Dal won. If the SP and the BSP were to get together, even then, the result would have been quite different, even in 2014, in the context of the Modi wave. So I think the BJP panicked, and the BJP started talking about the nationalism issue, but that didn't go down well on the ground. There is still some resonance in UP of some of the schemes. For example, the Swachhta scheme. There have been several toilets that have been constructed, thousands of toilets. Ujjwala faces some criticism, but some people also admire the Ujjwala scheme where people got LPG cylinders. So my assessment is that the BJP made the mistake of falling between the two stools. It probably panicked and started talking about nationalism, but it could have been better off if it had continued to talk about some of its development projects, some of its schemes.
Archis, all the seats in Gujarat are also voting today, and as we remember, in 2014, the BJP won every single seat in Gujarat for the Lok Sabha. You visited Gujarat during the assembly elections. From whatever you have heard or read this time, do you think the same issues of rural versus urban divide resonate even this time?
In 2017 December, when I visited Gujarat to cover the assembly elections, the Gujarat model or the failures of the Gujarat model were quite stark. The moment you step out of the bigger cities and visit rural areas, the Gujarat model seems to be on shaky ground. The rural distress, rural poverty is a hard reality, a rude truth that one has to face in Gujarat. Coupled with that, there was this massive partidar anger. I also visited some of those areas, including Morbi. And the development, it would seem, big roads, hospitals, schools, stops beyond the bigger cities. And even in bigger cities, much of it is privatized. Education has become very expensive. Public hospitals are in a dilapidated condition. So I think those issues would continue to haunt the BJP. Obviously, there'll be this issue of Gujarati Asmita, and since Mr. Modi and Mr. Amit Shah are from Gujarat, there'll be significant support from them. But it would be interesting to see how rural areas in Gujarat vote this time, because the last time in the Gujarat Assembly polls, the Congress recovered its number of seats that it had won primarily because of rural areas, and it could be that the same kind of voter behavior gets repeated.
Another major news story in the last month has been the flip-flop on an alliance between the Congress Party and the Aam Aadmi Party in Delhi. Now, both parties have announced candidates for all the seats in Delhi, and the alliance seems to have fallen through. In an interaction with Navbharat Times today, Rahul Gandhi has said that they were willing to have an alliance with Aam Aadmi Party only in Delhi and were offering 4 seats to the Aam Aadmi Party. What do you think were the compulsions or the complications for this alliance?
I think even if the Congress was agreeable to the alliance, it should have sewn up the alliance much earlier, not left it till such a late date. But having said that, I thought the offer of 4 seats to Aam Aadmi Party was quite reasonable. Now, Aam Aadmi Party has been insisting that it should also get some seats as part of an alliance in Haryana, as well as Punjab. Now, Punjab looks very unrealistic because the Congress has a government there and the Congress believes that it can do reasonably well. Why would a party, because it wants to have an alliance in 7 seats of Delhi, start surrendering 13 seats of Punjab or 10 seats of Haryana? So I think the Aam Aadmi Party is probably a bit unrealistic in its expectations. In Haryana, for example, why would the Congress accommodate the Aam Aadmi Party at the expense of its other allies or recent entrants? For example, Kuldeep Bishnoi. The moment other castes leave Congress, if they were to have an alliance between Congress and Aam Aadmi Party, the Congress gets reduced to a Jat-only party, which will be injurious to the Congress's long-time goals in Haryana. And let's not forget that Congress has ruled Haryana for significant number of years in recent past. The Huda government ran for nearly 10 years and it is still remembered for the kind of development work that it had done. So I would think that the Aam Aadmi Party is probably being a tad unrealistic in refusing the alliance in Delhi, because there is enough electoral data available since 2014 which suggests that the BJP has this core 32-33% vote, and the rest of the vote shifts between the Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party, which would suggest that they have at least somewhat of a common vote. So a triangular contest will be injurious to the prospects of both the Aam Aadmi Party and the Congress, and it will be very beneficial to the BJP.
So you're saying it's advantage BJP in Delhi's 7 seats?
I would think to. So, there's, as I said, there's ample electoral data to suggest that if the vote gets split between the Aam Aadmi Party and the Congress, the BJP would sail through.
Thank you for your inputs, Archis. So that was this week's episode of the Chessboard. Hope you enjoyed our discussion. Tune in next week for the latest in the world of Indian politics.